This is my quick Warden video. So this is my Warden. These are her basic stats. This is pretty much kind of where I like to chill. I don't have my bedding niche up right now, but I do have food on. Right now I'm running Clockwork Citrus, but I've run a couple of different things. It just can depend on the trial. So this build is not optimized. I mean, this is a really good flexible basic build. It's not necessarily going to get you an end game, you know, truly end game for everything. But this is a good build. I use it in all the Craigs, VMall and VHoff, and you're going to be able to do fine with tweaking it. I think if you're going to try to do VCR or VAS, you need a different setup, but this is the basics. So I like my max Maj, 32k, 31, I like it above 31, recovery above 2200 in general, and my spell damage I like to be above 1600. As you can see, I hit that with this, even without my bedding niche up. One of the nice things about this character is I'm a high elf, which I let myself do because you're going to see when we go through all the warden skills and passive that we get a lot of things that give us magic back, so we don't necessarily need the recovery bonuses like on a Breton. So that's myself unbuffed. I have the apprentice on. I flip around. I would say apprentice over like the healing one. Normally I do, for this one I might do max Maj or I might do spell damage on my high elf. Well, let me show you what this is going to look like when I put on my niche. That on one bar, and flip it. That on the other bar. These are pretty good stats. One thing that I do, you know, I'll be honest, I like for my comfort is the health. The health is pretty high, especially considering, you know, wardens, I have skills that can increase my health 10%. So every time I cast that, I'm going to have all these buffs put on. So I mean, that's pretty comfortable health-wise, but like I said, it's good for learning and stuff, so I like it. So skills-wise, I'm kind of just going to show you, this is my basic bar setup. Most of the stuff on my healing bar is always going to be on my bar. And then this is my back bar, and it's most of my flex spots. So I'm just going to show you kind of what I got on there, and then I'll go through why I have everything where you want to hear. So I got Fetcher Infection, I've got Enchanted Growth, Combat Prayer, Budding Seeds. This should actually be Illustrious Springs, I just haven't changed the morph yet. Drive and Barrier. On the back bar I have Aggressive Warhorn, Blockade of Storms, Expansive Frostcloak, Blue Betty, Ellie Drain, Energy Orb. Alright, so why I've got everything set up this way. Barrier I have on because if you look under your support passive, I get 10% magic bonus to magic recovery, which is huge. There are a couple other skills, you know, Barrier I like normally for the regen. You can do Enchanted Forest. I've seen Northern Storm used. I generally run Barrier. I mean, I really don't necessarily pop it a lot, especially, you know, if I'm trying to do like a 4-man dungeon, no death, I might pop it, but I don't pop it all the time. Healing Springs, like I said, this should be Illustrious Springs. Budding Springs, I like this a lot because it's got the heal. Couple cool things about this one. If you cast it, then you hit it again, you automatically do the heal. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So like if I know that my tank, like I'm in VMall and I'm like, oh, about to get barrage, cast that down a few seconds before he gets barrage, I just hit it and he gets like 9k. Pretty cool. And then there's also a synergy that they can hit to proc it as well. So that's really cool. Combat Prayer almost always should be on your bar. Because, I mean, it has a nice little heal to it, but mainly because you're increasing, you know, 8%, you're increasing their damage. That's huge. And you're also increasing the resistance. So very cool. Enchanted Growth. I would always have this on my bar. It's got a heal to it, but it's also got this major intellect to minor endurance, which is awesome for a group buff. So very cool. Fetcher Infection. This gives you the minor vulnerability, so I always try to have that up on bosses. That's one of the reasons that wardens are brought into groups. These two skills and then the ice one are kind of key warden skills that you're going to get on a warden versus on a Templar, which is why they want them around. The other cool thing about this, okay, so I have Fetcher up here. Part of the reason I've got this on my front bar is that. Anytime, increase your magic consume recovery by 12% if an animal companion ability is slotted. So I have Fetcher on my front bar to get that buff on this bar, and then I have I have the Blue Betty on my back bar to get that buff on my back bar. So pretty cool. And you can kind of see the other buffs in here. Damage shot, I don't really care about that on my healer. Energy orbs, this is a must. It gives you that synergy for everybody. Pretty darn cool. Always have that on. Blue Betty, I always have that on. I get the extra buffs there. This is the ice, expansive frog coast, increase everybody's resistance. I always have that on. And then Warhorn, this is the LT I typically use. You want to use it once you get to 20 seconds left on the last allies Warhorn. You can press this because then you have the critical damage increase. So it is important. I'm going to show you some of the other passives. So green, this is it. So when you activate an Allard, this one of these heals on your enemy, you increase their max health. So that's gonna include your Enchanted Grove and your Budding Seeds. Okay, so pretty darn cool. One of the cool things you get for that one. And then yours to the Frost Cloak. And then this one, it has some buff resistances, not super cool, not super important. The other ones, I would make sure you've got all of these points into, because these are pretty cool. Resto buffs, I'd make sure you have those. Make sure you've got all the light armor bonuses. Undaunted bonuses are also important. And then we talked about that already, your class skills and alchemy. This is one that sometimes gets overlooked. You want to have medicinal use, increases your building and potions, lasting 30% longer. So I mentioned that my back bar has all my flex spots, so I got a couple of them here. LA Drain. LA Drain used to always have to be on your bar. I don't always have it on my bar, because sometimes with some trials, DPS or tanks will be running it, because they have to do portals, so I might have a flex spot there. Blockade of Storms. Very useful skill. It gives you that off balance, which increases their damage taken. However, sometimes in bosses fights, you're not always going to be close enough. So I've got all these different flex skills, and I was going to kind of run through different skills I flex in and out of these spots, depending. I don't find that one too useful. I mean, you can do that. The cool thing about this is if you really don't have another skill to use, or you don't have something else you want, you can pop it on your bar and increase your Magic Prophecy, which is pretty cool. Bursting Vines. Okay, I use this in VSS when I'm healing ice. It's awesome. You pretty much put this down, so that's 9600k. Go over to them with that, and then I pop my Budding Seeds, and they're pretty much healed up. So pretty cool. I'd want to have Crushing Shock. This is a destructible skill line, because it gives you that interrupt, which is extremely useful. Kind of have it in case of DPS or skipping crap aren't interrupting where they should be. Radiating Regeneration. Sometimes I use this on my Warden, because mainly I use it in two situations. One is where trials, like Vast, where people are all over the place. The other one is when I have a group that doesn't understand how to stack. Healing Ward. This I really just use in VHoff on the second boss. When he steams, you want to have Healing Ward on. I really haven't found too many situations other than that are useful. Harness Magicka. It's an extra shield. If you're running something new, you need to take a lot of damage. Pop that sucker on. Playing with Circle of Protection. I might throw this on if in situations where I'm taking a lot of damage, like VHoff last boss, or where I have a lot of stam and I want to increase the stam recovery. Either one's pretty cool. This can be a nice buff. First, it's the synergy, which is always a plus, especially when you have a lot of group members running Laquestes. But this also is really cool in that it does give you a minor AoE heal. And it also gives, the Blood Fuel synergy, Funnel synergy, which is really awesome. Inner Fire. I have this open just because if you're DBDSA, last boss, normally the healer needs just to aggro the boss. Energy Orb, with that being awesome. Good morph. Efficient Purge, this is a must if you want to be a healer at endgame, because it does remove negative effects. We don't have the extended ritual like on a Templar, so this is our only way to do that. So you definitely need to get that leveled up. And essentially, I will flex these other skills in to these two spots here, my LA Drain and my Elemental Storm, if I need to. It's pretty much a basic build. I think right now I'm wearing Olo and... yeah, Olo... and Sentinel, Hollow Fang. So you can see by looking at my stuff that I do not have this stuff going on here. We're not gonna judge you. I have bad traits and I don't have good things. I also don't know so much about traits on stabs. I need to do some research and figure that out. But it's a good basic guide. Thanks so much.